All right, so we are now looking at a new two-step inequality. Once again, we're going to deal with this additive inverse first. Although we could use the multiplicative inverse first, we'll do that next. Let's start by adding 7 to both sides. So we now have a 0 here, which means we can write negative 1/2 x plus 0 is greater than or equal to negative 4 plus 7, negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is a positive 3. Now we have negative 1/2 x is greater than or equal to positive 3. If we remember previous videos on solving equations, we have to multiply by the reciprocal here to get x alone. We multiply by a reciprocal because that gives us 1x, or it allows x to be isolated. The reciprocal of negative 1/2 is going to be negative 2 over 1. So we'll do the same thing over here, negative 2 over 1. So now we have 1x here, positive 1x. But since we multiplied by that negative, we have to change the direction of our inequality. So x is now less than or equal to 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. It would be negative 6 over 1. This is 3 over 1 times negative 2 over 1. It would be negative 6 over 1, or just negative 6. This is our solution right here. X must be less than or equal to negative 6. So our reference point here, negative 6, negative 5, negative 6. And since x needs to be less, we're going to the left on the number line. All right. Let's talk about how to use the multiplicative inverse first now. So if we look at this same equation right here, we're going to solve it using the multiplicative inverse first. So I'm going to multiply everything by negative 2 over 1. I also want to multiply this by negative 2 over 1. Multiplying everything by the same value here. So negative 2 over 1 times negative 1 over 2, we already know that makes a positive 1x. That's the reason we're multiplying by this particular reciprocal. So we have x minus negative 2 times negative 7. I'll go ahead and draw our distributive property arrows right here. Negative 2 times negative 7 is going to give us a plus 14. And since we're multiplying both sides by a negative, we have to flip the symbol here. And that's going to give us a positive 8. Now on our one more step, we're going to subtract. Let me use a different color here. Subtract 14 from both sides. Some people like this way better because you don't have to deal with fractions. This is a way to clear fractions out of your equation. When we subtract 14 from 8, we know we have a greater absolute value here in negative 14, so our final value is going to be negative, and 14 minus 8 is 6. So we have a negative 6 here. We have 0 here, plus 14 minus 14. So we have x plus 0 is less than or equal to negative 6, just like we had before. We come to negative 6. We know that x is less. We got another two-step inequality right here. This time we have a coefficient that has a fraction with a numerator greater than 1, so that's going to make it a little more challenging, but something you can definitely do and understand. Let's use this additive inverse first to get closer to isolating x. Let's subtract 7, since we're adding 7. Subtract 7 here as well. So we now have negative 3/4 x is greater than or equal to negative 2 minus 7. Negative 2 minus 7. We add our negatives together here. That gives us a negative 9. Negative 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can see how that's negative 9 right there. We need to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of our coefficient right here. So we're going to multiply by negative 4 over 3. And to keep the integrity of our statement here, our inequality, negative 4 over 3 is going to happen here as well. I'll come over to the other side of the board for more space here. We know that this makes 1x. This is going to be positive 12 over positive 12. 12 over 12x is 1x. Since we're multiplying by a negative value, we know we have to change this from greater than to less than or equal to. Now the question is, what is negative 9 times negative 4 over 3? Let's do this two ways. We're going to show the long way. Let me change colors here to make it clear what we're doing. We can go negative 9 over 1 times negative 4 over 3 and say negative 9 times negative 4 is positive 36. 1 times 3 is 3. That tells us that 12 is going to be what we have here. X is less than or equal to, wrong color. X is less than or equal to positive 12. Let's look at this another way here. I'm going to go ahead and erase what we have. And I'm going to cross simplify. 1 and 4 don't have common factors, but negative 9 and 3 do. I'm going to go ahead and factor out. Let's use this one. Let's factor out a 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. And 9 divided by 3, negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. So now we have negative 3 times negative 4, which is 12 over 1. Same thing, 12. And here, 3/4 x has to be negative 9, right? So I'll draw a little picture here. Make fourths. Now 3 of these fourths right here, 3 of these fourths has to be equal to negative 9. That's how we know there's negative 3, negative 3, negative 3. If 3 of the fourths is negative 3, the last fourth must also be negative 3. So 3/4, negative 3/4 of 12, our value, we see clearly that that must be negative 9. For our inequality though, let's go ahead and find our positive 12. Positive 12 is all the way up here, 2 spaces past the 10. X must be less than or equal to. Less is this way. So all the spaces less than 12 are our solution.